It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
The Big Go on WFO. I love what we're doing. We have had so many great guests as we lead into the first qualifying session of Mellow Yellow Series drag racing Friday night under the lights, Lucas Oil Raceway. I hope everybody is going to be there. If not, watching on NHRA.tv. Just taking part in this celebration of speed that is U.S. Nationals Week. Remember, there's all kinds of stuff going on, and as we get closer and closer to the week, my vision is that you're driving there, you're packing the car, you're listening to WFO along the way, you and your fam, your dad, your kid, whatever the relationship is. You guys are getting ready to go to Indy, and you're going to take in this experience with us all together. And if you can't make it, you're listening as you get ready to watch on NHRA.tv or Fox Sports 1. But you're connected, and you'll be watching all the social media as well. The WFO account on Facebook and Twitter is going to be going wild over the course of the weekend. What do? I tweet out pictures of cool cars. That's my thing. And we'll be doing a lot of stuff for NHRA. It is going to be great, and we've got another great guest, Robert Height, going to bring us home, and that one is coming up. If you missed Freiberger, if you missed Erica, if you missed Fast Jack, all that is in the WFO archive. You should subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you know that all by now. But it's really the sponsors, and I'm saying their name every single time because they are making it possible. We're talking about Total Seal Piston Rings. They do rings, they make tools. It's all made in America. The highest of high performance, Total Seal, the leader in ring seal technology. Go to TotalSeal.com. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. I always talk about the dragster adventure because that's something that every person can do and aspire to. Drive a dragster for fun. 3 runs down the racetrack, a half track, 2 full track passes. It makes a great gift. And maybe you want to get a top alcohol license. That's a different story for a different day. Go to frankhawley.com to find out more. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Start your education at full speed. Rodax, coffeeandgrills.com. We got a sponsor for whatever you need, whether it be hot sauces and spice rubs and everything that is just great. You open the box and the wonderful aroma of roasted coffee hits you right in the face. You will love it. Check out Marvin, 817-924-6821. MagicDryUS.com. Scott Palmer helping out the show. Magic Dry US helping out Scott Palmer. And Hangstifer's Metalworking Lubricants, Hangstifer's Laboratories since 1937. Make you more efficient in the machine shop. Folks at HusseyPerformance.net, Drag Racing Edge Magazine, as you are about to hear, and EV3 Drag Racing for your mobile device. All part of cross-promotional ties with the WFO Radio podcast. And we are not stopping after Indy. We are going right through the NHRA countdown, and we are going right through the NHRA offseason, winter break. WFO doesn't stop. Hopefully you heard the Ignition Show the other night, and that is available for you as well. Inside the Ignition Show, a whole lot of NHRA talk as well. That's the secret to WFO. NHRA Nitro, the face of the show. The dirty underground, the underbelly of what's going on WFO, WFO Ignition. That is the secret. All right, let's get into it with our next guest. WFO Radio has had some great partners over our 10 years to kind of spread the word of podcasting and the fact that you can hear NHRA drag racing. But also at the same time, we like to promote some of the great magazines out there. And one of the great relationships that we have forged over the years is with Drag Racing Edge magazine, and more in particular, John DiBartolomeo, who is the editor, who always joins us whenever there is a brand new edition, and there is, as we get ready for the Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals. Johnny D, welcome back. Happy Indy. How are you?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's we're getting ready here to get started, and started on the marathon, huh?
Yes, the marathon that is the Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals, which I have come to love and be energized by. I know that there are racers that have been in line. Certainly their vehicles have been in line to get in from a week ago. So they are obviously fired up as well.
Yeah, we're all fired up. I mean, it's Indy, and Indy should always be Indy. It's our speed weeks, our Bonneville. It's just everything there is in drag racing.
It is.
Anybody who's anybody is here.
That's it. This is the one. Years ago, Cameron Evans told me, he goes, there's one race and to a slightly lesser degree, there's Pomona, but Indy. You got to be at Indy if you're a part of this community. That's it, period. End of story. And I've always lived by that, and it is true, and I've seen it, and I see people each year that, you might not see them anywhere else, but they'll be at Indy. And it's really cool because this year they're going to broadcast class eliminations on their NHRA.TV. There's going to be a lot of interesting stuff. I know you're going to be out there chasing stories, talking to folks out there, working on the next edition of Drag Racing Edge magazine. But you got a new episode out. Who's on the cover?
Bob Tasca. It says Bob Tasca is built Ford tough, and boy, has he been tough this year so far, huh?
He really has. Well, he's come on strong. They are a definite championship contender based on what they did in the meat of the season, as he called it, back there, Bristol, Norwalk, and even Epping going to the semifinals. They've got a quick and fast hot rod, but I agree. I like the fact that you have focused on the Ford angle. That's a big story, that Tasca had the juice to bring Ford back into the sport of drag racing.
He really has, and I think, part of the story that we talk about was, him, let's say, talking Ford into coming back into funny car racing or drag racing, and maybe even thinking that he dropped the ball a little bit last year, but boy, he's making up for it this year. He's bringing Ford back big in a big way.
Yes, and they were involved with the Copra Jet program and sportsman racing, where and I understand their strategy, which was they sell parts to these racers, and so focus on that. But being in the Nitro ranks is that's where the spotlight is the brightest. And Bob is a star. That's the thing about Tasca. He's got a big personality. He's happy when he wins. His dad goes crazy on the starting line. And you know that they are invested in trying to sell Ford cars.
They are, and it just stands to reason. They own these Ford dealerships, and they want to sell cars, and they're just doing it in a big way. And his grandfather was just such a big proponent and helped Ford, come up with the whole Cobra Jet program. And if there's anybody who bleeds Ford blue, it's him.
That is a fact. And hopefully the Ford fans have embraced that. Nowadays, in the the modern culture where some things are spec and less manufacturer centric, rightfully so in terms of 330 mile per hour funny cars, but this guy's a Ford guy. Period. End of story. And he's carrying that banner into the championship. Now, what do you think their chances are? I really like the team that they've got assembled.
Well, I do too. I think it's. Obviously, you got to look at Robert Height and what he's done this year, and the domination that whole JFR team has had. But I still think it's almost kind of wide open. Maybe a little bit different in the top fuel class. But as far as funny car is concerned, I still think it's pretty wide open. Could be anybody. All it takes, once we get into the countdown, as you well know, we got 6 races, and excuse me, you hiccup at one or two of them, and you're in trouble. So, Robert Height has done a great job, and I'm sure he's hiccuped at some of them. But, once we get into the countdown, it could be anybody's game.
Yes, in funny car, it absolutely could be, based on what Tasca with John Schaefer and Eric Lane, with Mike Neff kind of guiding the ship a little bit. I'm interested to know what Tasca said about that 3-headed monster of crew chiefs, because, Eric and John, it started out as Eric, and then they added John, and then Zippy comes over, and that's like the secret sauce that made it all work. They all kind of handle something. Of course, this, folks, is why you need to subscribe to Drag Racing Edge and get the magazine each week. But can you give us a little teaser on what the secret sauce has been?
We could. I think it's just, he spoke about it a little bit, and I think it's just a case of everything coming together. We're working, obviously, as you well know, and Indy's going to be a big part of what we work on, but we're working on our next issue, and one of the things in our next issue is speaking with Mike Klober, the crew chief for Clay Milligan's car. And one of the things I asked him was, what's it going to take for you guys to win? I mean, they've been pretty dominant, and he said it's a case of when it happens, and everything has to work together. And I think that's what happened over at Tasca. Everything just kind of gelled. Zippy worked with this one, that one worked with that one, and just the team is just making it happen right now.
Very interesting to watch it all play out. Now, whenever we read Drag Racing Edge, though, the cover story is a big part of it, but there's always tech and informative bits for sportsman racers and grassroots racers. That's why I think it's so popular. What are you hitting us with this episode?
Well, I mean, tech-wise, it's our normal tech lineup. One of the big stories in this one is actually part 2 from our last issue. Our last issue, we talked about pumping mechanisms in drag racing, oil pumps, fuel pumps, whatever, and we talked about positive displacement pumps. This time we talk about centrifugal pumping mechanisms and how they work. And so it's kind of a really technical article, and it's a good piece. We talk about Randy Lynn's ship and her family, how they got involved in racing. I mean, that's a great family story, and she's a great racer too. So it's things like that, and we do our normal profiles of other racers, sportsman racers, and tech features. So it's a pretty well loaded one, and I'm proud of it. I really am.
Well, that is great stuff. Yeah, Randy Lynn is a rock star out there, and her profile is going up and up and up. The story that I found to be most interesting, I mean, not most interesting, but very interesting, was that Bob and Etta Glidden were her babysitters as she was a little girl.
Yeah, right. Well, they lived in the same town. Her father, didn't work with Glidden, but I mean, they hung out together. They came from the same town. So, it's only natural, and that they make a really good story. So.
And the girl can turn on wind lights. That is for sure. So for our audience out there who is eager to get Drag Racing Edge to their door, what is the best way for them to subscribe?
Easiest way, dragracingedge.com, www.dragracingedge.com. Just sign right up in a matter of seconds, minutes, whatever. Fill in your name, throw in your credit card money, and away you go. And you'll see 6 issues coming to your doorstep. You can also call our office, but it's just easy to just get right online and do it.
And you guys have been great posting our stories up there, maybe meaning our podcast, like the audio links and how to subscribe and all that. We certainly appreciate it, especially at times like this. We're coming up on our 10th anniversary. We're in our 10th year. This is our 10th anniversary season of doing podcasts. And now all of a sudden, I don't want to say all of a sudden, but there has been just a major, sea change, a breakthrough where so many people have kind of adopted the format of podcasting to get their message out, whether it be like Nomex Effect with JR and Sean to connect with the audience. There are so many of them out there. Don O'Neill and Cameron Foray have got their Racers and Rental Cars podcast. Podcasting has really gone crazy. I appreciate you supporting us for so long.
Well, we like to, as we say, we support those who support us. But I mean, it works, and you're right. I mean, there's so many. I listen to a lot of the podcasts. I do as I'm driving down the road. That's the easiest time for me to do it, and there are so many different. I never realized how many different podcasts there were. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s got one. I mean, obviously a big one is the Joe Rogan one, but yes. I mean, there's a million of them out there.
Yeah,
I don't know how you can even keep track of them.
Well, you get on dragracingedge.com with Johnny D, and you do a cross-promotional thing, and then he gets it out to the magazine readers. That's the way. That's my strategy, at least.
Well, I appreciate
That's
that.
what I think works. I don't know.
I've also been doing a blog every week that comes out on Wednesday mornings on our website, and it's just kind of like little insight things that go through my head as I'm trying to sleep at night. But so that's been pretty popular on our website too.
Now, I like the fact that you guys go like a layer deeper than many others. Just flipping on the website, just the fact about the OMG golf cart biz. Like, that is a really cool deal that most people would not understand if they didn't go to the website. All right, Johnny D, let's talk about some of the big things that have happened recently. John Force, 150. Give me your thoughts and the significance of that moment to drag racing.
Off the top of my head, we're never going to see somebody win 150 races ever again.
I agree with that.
I mean, that's a lot.
Who would have to do
racers.
it? Who would have to do it? Like, what person would have to be the person to go out and do such a thing? Austin Prock, and he's just going to win and win and win until he's 70? Okay, maybe, but I just don't see it. I agree.
I don't see it. Right now the closest to him is Fletcher and Rampy, and I mean Manzo's at whatever Manzo's at. But I mean Manzo's done. David Rampy is not at the end of his career, but I mean he's sure to think that he's going to pick up another 50 wins or so. And same thing with Dan Fletcher. But you're right. I mean, who's going to win 150 events in a row? A guy like Austin Prock could start doing it, but I mean, it's going to take a lot to try to ever top 150. It really is. I think the significance of it is just immense. It really do.
Yeah.
And John Force got out of the car. There was some mention of some of the questionable language that he said when he got out of the car, and yeah, maybe some of it is questionable, but you know what? The guy was excited. I mean, he's been fighting this monkey to get this 150th win off his back so he didn't have to hear anybody say it ever again. And he jumps out of the car and he uses a couple of choice words. And you know what? So be it. That's John Force.
Yes, I agree as well. That's been my attitude as well. My attitude across the board. First of all, you can't get that upset when people are in an emotional state as he was. Yeah, granted, it is unfortunate, though, because it would have been so much better if that was a clean quote that could have been played over and over again for history. But you know what? They edited it up. The one they got is really good. That didn't bother me at all. I love that he went into the stands. I love that he shared it with the fans. Yep. I love that he gave us an exclusive interview, which is in the archive, by the way. I just think it closes the circle on his career. Whatever comes next, whatever it is, 5 more wins, 10 more wins, 1 more win, maybe a championship. I really genuinely believe that John is in the mix for the championship in a much better way than anybody really understands, because the car is running very well. John has been unburdened of this thing that's on him, the monkey, and nobody expects it. Like, people have counted him out in many ways. Like, oh, man, the guy's 70. He can't. He got 150, but he makes a lot of points. He goes to the semifinals on a regular basis. And stacking up those points, a little help, a win, you just don't know John Force could do it.
And, can you imagine? You saw how excited he was at 150 to jump out of the car and act the way he did. And I mean, jumping into the stands, how can you even top that? I mean, that deal was just priceless. And can you imagine if he wins the championship, what you're going to see then?
No. Keep Dr. Surface standing by. Keep it close.
I saw that. I saw that. I saw Doc carrying him or walking with him afterwards. And I'm sure maybe John was hurting a little bit, but I don't think he felt it.
Definitely not. Let's talk a little bit about, we could go driver by driver and get your opinion, but the fact of the matter is it is wide open. Top Fuel is more of the way I look at it, can Steve Torrence cement the Capco boys as a historic dynasty in drag racing? They're about to lose a 600-point lead. We all know that they hate that. Steve, Billy, the family, they don't really agree with the countdown format. They got a lot of people that agree with them. I believe someone had said, and I haven't done this math myself, but that the championship would be pretty much clinched right now if we were under the old system, which would have been an incredible historic thing and put Steve up there with the John Forces of the world for total dominance. And I get that. But we have the countdown because Americans love the playoffs. Once upon a time, Major League Baseball, the two best record teams, they would play in the World Series with no playoffs. And I know you remember that well, Johnny D.
Oh, yeah.
We created the playoffs and the wild cards for a reason, because people want more. They love it. They love playoffs. They love a reset. They love when you got to go again. And the New England Patriots, they went to the Super Bowl, and they didn't win the Super Bowl with a perfect record. They're not the Super Bowl champs. They lost the one that matters. That's the way it is. That's the way the society is. America.
Yep.
Steve's got to do it
Without
again.
doubt.
I have no doubt that they'll be able to, but I feel like that's the story for Top Fuel. Will they or won't they?
That could very well be the story. But like I said to you, I mean, in 6 races, you hiccup once or twice, and they've hiccuped. Not much, but they've hiccuped. Somebody could overtake them.
But who would that be? And that's the question. It's yes, is there a chink in the armor? Maybe, I don't know. I don't even want to say that. I would just say that, bad luck can strike at any moment. But which is the team that's going to string together 3 out of 6 really strong races? That's the question.
I really am very decent. I'm good friends with Clay Millican and Mike Klober, and I'd love to see those guys win a championship. But it could also be Mike Salinas. Look at what Salinas has done all year. He's flying. And he's got somebody turning the screws there that knows how to win championships. So it could be anybody.
Yeah.
It really could. It really could. I mean, the Torrance has got a great team, both the father and the son, and they sure have done a whole lot last year and this year. They're not letting up.
No, and I still think they have something to prove as well. They understand what's going on. 9 finals in a row, et cetera. Pro stock, Bo Butner's sitting atop the points lead, but that lead has eroded dramatically. And we have seen pretty much everybody within the top 10 contend for victories. Chris McGahey sitting 9th. He won out there in Norwalk. Jag is Jag. Erica is Erica. Any one of those could go on a run. Derek Kramer has been surprising. Well, not really. He's just been strong. Hartford has stepped up and is in the mix. Pro stock, I feel like pro stock is back on the upward trend. Couple of races, we've had 20 cars. We hear that more are coming and on the way. I think a lot of people are getting the word that, okay, this is something that can be done competitively for a championship, for the real racers out there that want to go through, transmission builds every other run. I feel like Pro Stock has changed its direction and is now looking up.
It is without a doubt. It's changing. It's coming back. I mean, it kind of lacked a little bit of a luster, a couple of years ago, and we made the change to fuel injection and shorter wheelie bars and no hood scoops, which I'm really not a fan of. But in any event, it kind of wasn't growing even with those changes, and maybe now it's starting to come back some. You're starting to get more cars in the field, so that could be another one that's up in the air. I'd love to see Matt Hartford win the championship. Bo Butner, what do you say about Bo? I mean, look at what Bo, now all of a sudden Bo ends up with a super gas car with Aaron Kennard stuff, and he goes to 2 final rounds in a super gas car. Never driven a super gas car before. Bo's just, he's a winner. There are certain people, and I've said this before, there are certain people who just have a knack for turning on wind lights no matter what they drive. Jeggy, Peter Biondo, people like that. And Bo's turning out to be one of those people.
Yeah.
He just knows how to turn on wind lights. So maybe, he just might be turning on more wind lights in Pro Stock soon. So.
Well, exactly. And it's been fun to watch. The super gas deal has been crazy. that he just can jump in the car and go out there, and he's got a nose for being able to go out there. Plus, we got a battle for the countdown: Kenny Delco, Fernando Quadra, and Val Smeeland, all with a shot at that 10th spot. Going to be very interesting to see how that all works out. And then Pro Stock Motorcycle, I don't want to call anything like so early, but it feels like a Harley show right now. I know Matt Smith's got one under the bench that he loves, and the Aranas can jump up and perform. But over 6 races, the season that Andrew Hines has had, I know Eddie Krawick is capable of knocking him off, but I would be surprised if it turned out any other way.
They sure are making it tough for everybody else. They really are. How do you bet? If one of the 4 pro classes, if you're going to bet against anybody, you sure wouldn't bet against the Harleys.
No. No, but then again, the favorites, which is why I think, Funny Car and Pro Stock are interesting, because those are the wide open categories. In Pro Stock Motorcycle, you got Andrew, the favorite, you got Eddie right there, co-favorite, and Matt Smith, who's the reigning champ. Will he, he'll fight his way down, but just they have shown dominance over the course of the season. Top Fuel, similar situation. Torrance and the Capco guys are just, dominant. Funny Car, Pro Stock, wide open. And to me, that's all interesting. But in the end, only one person can win Indy. And before we talk countdown, you got to talk Indy. Winning the U.S. Nationals definitely changes your career.
It does. It does. My son was fortunate enough to go to the final round at Indy, and he lost to Edmund Richardson. And it's pretty devastating to go that far, thinking that Indy is as important as it is. It's Indy. Winning Indy is everything, really.
Now, what year was that? Was that last year or the year before?
No, that was, oh, Lord, I don't even remember anymore.
A couple years back?
It was a couple of years back, Edmund. The funny thing is, earlier in the year, my son had beaten Edmund someplace. The week before, that's right, my son Franklin. And then later in the year, same year, we went to the Bowling Green Lucas Oil divisional race, and I had to race Edmund, and I beat Edmund. And then when we got to the final at Indy, knowing he had to run Edmund, I said to my son, listen, I'm telling you right now, he's going to want it more than you, because we've already beaten him twice this year. So you better be on your game. And it just wasn't to be. I'm a firm believer in fate, I guess, if you want to call it that.
I call it the cosmic forces on the show all the time. That's how I wrap that thing together. Fate, karma, because all of it, religion. I call it cosmic forces because, everyone's got their own idea. But we're talking about things that we can't control, but that are out there affecting things. We
are. And I've often said that it's already written in the book who's going to win Indy next year. The big man's already got this book, and he already knows who's going to win. And the only thing I ask is that should I be lucky enough or whatever, fortunate enough to get to heaven, I'd like for the big man to show me that book, to show me how many times I wasted my time going to races, because he knew I wasn't going to win.
That's funny. That is funny. Well, I'm excited about it. The U.S. Nationals this week, and a new episode, edition of Drag Racing Edge magazine will be there. And, of course, you guys should all get it in your mailbox. One final question for you, Johnny D. Just your opinions, something that's out there. It's boiling. It's simmering. You'll be discussing it very soon, if not in the next edition. The return to 1320 rumors that overtook the drag racing world out there in Epping continue to simmer. I have talked with a lot of people. I am constantly asking for opinions. I want to update my own opinion. My initial take was like, I don't know, man. I'm not into it because I really like and appreciate what we got going on, but I know things are forging forward and the conversations are continuing. And I also said, if they shorten it to 800 feet or extend it to 1,500 feet, I'm going to be there because I love the people, the sport, the cars and sounds, and I love being there. So I'll go with the flow, whatever they decide. But what do you think? What do you think about this flirtation with the return?
Well, interestingly enough, this issue in our letters section, we call Your Take. We actually post a question on our social media sites as to, and we did, 8th mile, 1,000 foot, or quarter mile. What's your preference? And I'm telling you, we got overwhelmed with people, and it went all kinds of different ways. You know, some guys want to go back to 1320. Some guys like the quarter mile. Some guys like just. I guess one that impressed me the most is I don't care. Just press on the loud pedal. So it's racing. Let's go racing. I don't like, in the course of sportsman racing, I like 8th mile bracket racing for the simple sake that you leave the starting line, you get right to work. You're driving the finish line immediately. But the problem with 8th mile bracket racing is that it's gotten so tight that you may as well dial to the thousandth of a second. It's horrible. In that regard, I don't like 8th mile stuff. But you know what? It's racing. Give me a racetrack to run on. Tell me how long it's going to be. Is it going to be 8th mile? Is it going to be 1,000 foot? I don't care. Let's go racing.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you dodged the question with that answer.
It doesn't matter to me.
Sorry to call you out, Johnny D, but I just feel like let's go racing. Really, no, there's a big debate going on. You got to pick a side, man.
No, it doesn't matter. It really, to me, personally,
yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Okay,
it
well,
really doesn't matter. I don't care.
If that is the case, that it doesn't matter, then why spend a bunch of money to do something different?
I don't know. I mean, what are we doing that's different?
Well, if we're extending it out to 1,320 feet, guys are going to have to do new stuff. There's going to have to be new learning. There's going to have to be new effort, new parts, tuning with new parts, whether it be smaller or different or restricted. They're going to have to get used to these new combinations, and all of that effort will technically be for nothing if we really don't care.
But we changed from 1320 and went to 1,000 foot, and we made everybody change all their combinations.
For a real legit safety-related reason.
Well, we did, but it still changed everybody's combination. I mean, I thought the funniest thing when we went to 1,000 foot racing was Don Pernod making a comment. We did it because of safety. Guys won't, they won't run it to 1320, won't be blowing up. And Don Pernod's comment was something to the effect of, "Yeah, that's all right. Give them a little bit, and they'll be blowing them up at 1,000 foot." And that's what we're doing now too. So, leave it the way it is. Leave it 1,000 foot racing. Let's go racing. That's all. I really don't care. The biggest problem with 1320 back then for the fuel cars was stopping distance. And the one thing that I said is that you can't make racetracks any longer. It's physically impossible.
Yep.
There's some tracks on the circuit that, maybe we could extend the shutdown area and this and that. But I know from my own personal experience, and we attend some of these smaller racetracks where the shutdown area goes uphill for whatever reason. That's the way the terrain is. Well, we could make the shutdown areas go uphill. That would help slow the cars down a whole lot. That would be an easy fix. You don't have to have any special mix for the compound. I mean, just lay a bunch of little excavating work, and here we slow these cars down. That would allow us to go back to 1320. But does it matter?
Well, that's the thing.
It doesn't matter to me.
Well, it doesn't matter to me either. Actually, I want whatever's best for the sport. The man in the book you were talking about a little bit earlier, like go to the book and find out what is going to grow the sport and get fans to come in and feel great and love what's going on and be enjoyable and write positive things on Facebook. That's what I want. Yeah. Whatever that is, that's going to make everybody happy and be like super positive. But I don't know. We're going to have to keep working on it.
It's tough. You're never going to make everybody happy. I always remember the track I lived next door to, Beaver Springs Dragway. There's a sign in the tower there, and it's penned by the guy who owns the track, and it says something to the effect of, I don't know how, I don't know what it takes to make everyone happy, but I know the secret to success is to try. You try anyway. but you're not going to make everybody happy. It just isn't going to happen.
So true, so true. John DiBartolomeo, he is a Division I Hall of Famer. He is the editor of Drag Racing Edge magazine, and he's a good friend. Thank you so much for giving us a little insight into the latest edition of Drag Racing Edge magazine. You can subscribe at dragracingedge.com. And, of course, I will see you out there at the Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals. We have no idea what we are going to see, but we know it is going to be amazing and fun and exciting. We got factory stock 32-car field. We got Dodge Hemi Challenge. We got so many good things going on. We're going to have a fun time at this marathon. Johnny D, thank you for coming on WFO Radio Podcast. And it's been several years now you've been coming on as we are in our 10th season of this podcast. I really appreciate what you guys do.
Well, thank you very much for having us on. And all I can say is dragracingedge.com. Please subscribe. Thank you.
There it is. Great job. Thanks, John. John DiBartolomeo, he's a Division I Hall of Famer and the editor of Drag Racing Edge magazine. You should definitely subscribe. Get the additions to your house. I like the tech articles, frankly, but more importantly, I like the magazines around. It's decoration. It's something to pick up. It's something to read. I make my living doing a digital program. This is it. You're listening to it. But I like something on the desk. I like to flip through the pages. I'm not ready to disconnect with that part of the world, and I think a lot of people do as well. So get the magazine. Johnny D doing a great job, and there's an ad for WFO Radio Podcast inside the magazine. Hopefully some of you out there have found us that way. All right, everybody, we're getting to the home stretch, as in Robert Height is next. We're going to speak with Robert. He is the points leader in the class that is probably the most unpredictable, but Robert is going to make a prediction.
I've won 5 races already this year, which is a career high for me. I've won 5 before, but if I want to be the 2019 champ, I'm going to have to win 8 or 9 this year. And when you look back on a season where you've won 8 or 9 and won a championship, that's definitely a successful year. So we're not going to get the championship if we don't have 8 wins. That is a prediction that I know is going to be the truth.
He's got to win 3 more races, and I don't know if that's going to be enough, assuming he wants to win Indy. All right, that doesn't even count for the championship. Then you go into the countdown. Everybody zeroes out their points for the most part, and you've got to go again. I know some people don't like it, but instead of the season being over, it's just starting. The pressure, the intensity. You know that everybody has got their stuff. Jimmy and Chris have got all the clutch discs and everything that they need ready and laid out for the countdown. What will happen? You got Ron Tobler, Dustin Heim, and Ron Capps. Same situation. You know Brian Karate and John Force and Danny Hood have got their program all mapped out. Fast Jack told us early in the week he's got his program all mapped out. And what is more exciting than that? When everybody is at their best at the exact same time. And the champion, whoever it is, has gone through them for a victory. Awesome stuff. The next interview you hear on WFO Radio will be Robert Height. Hopefully you will subscribe and write a review and share the show and tell your friends. Go buy a WFO Radio t-shirt and all that stuff. Of course, our sponsors by this point, you know, Total Seal, the Dragster Adventure at frankhawley.com, samtech.edu, Rodax, coffeeandgrills.com, magicdryus.com, and Hangstafers, metalworking lubricants, Total Seal, of course, the newest on board. And we appreciate all of our sponsors, both current and in the past. We're getting ready for the 2020 season. It's going to be mega. The next interview you hear will be Robert Height, and then it's big go time.
WFO! The views and opinions of the hosts, guests, or callers do not necessarily reflect that of the station ownership, advertisers, or agencies.
I love WFO Radio.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking gourmet coffee. We're talking hot sauces. We're talking spice rubs. We're talking everything good at RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. Marvin Rodak, been doing it since the 70s. Figured out that life is better with great coffee. And oh, he's so right. 817-924-6821. Call Marvin. He'll roast up some coffee fresh for you. Throw in some hot sauce, some spice rub, and you will be loving it. Hit him up, RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. The one thing that top drag racing teams agree on is Hankstafers.com. Hankstafers metalworking lubricants are going to make you more efficient in the machine shop. It's going to save your tools, it's going to improve your surface quality, and it's going to make you quicker and more efficient. Go to Hankstafers.com to find out more information. Hankstafers metalworking lubricants since 1937. Hussey Copper makes high-performance copper head gaskets. Go to HusseyPerformance.net to find out the entire line of gaskets that they make, and if you don't see what you need, they will custom-make gaskets for you. Hussey Performance has been in the business for over 40 years, and they know exactly where and how to purchase copper at the tightest possible tolerances. Go to HusseyPerformance.net to find out more information, or call David Allen himself. He gives out his cell number, 724-318-8292 for HusseyPerformance.net.
This is WFO Radio.